Predict change, baby. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, documenting my journey from the brick and mortar world to the online world of business over the last couple of years. Today is actually day 984, I think. Yep, 984 days popped online to share and document what I'm doing, what's working, what's not, lessons that I've learned, massive, huge failures and mistakes that I've made. Not that I love sharing those, but if I can help one person to avoid making some of the silly, stupid mistakes I've made, I feel like it's worthwhile. Well, today we're talking about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That was our idiom for today for Supersize Your Business. And I didn't realize how applicable it actually is to today when I first started doing it. And right before I started to make the video, I was like, oh my God, this is totally appropriate for some of the stuff that's going on in America right now and in our country right now. With sometimes we throw out something useful accidentally when we're throwing out something that we think is useless. And to me, that's a prime example of some of the nonsense that's going on in our world right now, and actually in America right now, with this whole movement to disband the police and eliminate all these systems and things that have worked forever, getting rid of the Constitution, and all of this nonsense that is just going on as part of a political campaign. And the media is going along with it and trying to brainwash all of us. And it's just turn it all off, think for yourselves, do what you know is right for you, is my advice when it comes to politics and listening to other sources. And there's so many examples of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, there's good and bad in absolutely everything, every aspect, every industry, every business, every organization, every occupation. There are awesome people at one end of the spectrum, and there are terrible, horrible people at the other end of the spectrum. There is good and bad in everything. It doesn't mean we throw out an entire industry. It doesn't mean we destroy an entire profession. It means we address the people that are the frickin' problem. See this in corporate America all the time, and in people running their businesses all the time. They'll have one person in the organization, kind of a bad apple, and instead of dealing with that person and giving them feedback and letting them know that behavior is unacceptable and won't be tolerated, they'll create rules and systems and procedures and processes that impact 100% of their employees. I think of attendance rules and guidelines, vacation request policies and procedures, all these crazy things. And, performance appraisals, right? Performance appraisals, don't even get me started on them. And performance reviews. But instead of giving the people that need that feedback and changing and holding them accountable and personally responsible for their behavior, we decide we're going to make rules and guidelines and systems for everybody. Or we're going to blow up the whole thing and we're going to start over. But we're really not going to start over. We're just going to say we're going to blow it up to get everybody all riled up and think we're going to do something, but we really don't have a solution, so we're really not going to do anything. It's part of what I am seeing as I step back and look at what's going on around me and just saying, yeah, nonsense. Choose not to participate. Y'all are being ridiculous. When you grow up and wake up and smell the coffee, as a matter of fact, let's talk again. So I say I'm not a believer in throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Have I done it before? Absolutely. Have you ever taken a bunch of stuff to Goodwill or to the dump only to realize that something that you really, really needed, a tool or a cord or something, accidentally got given away or thrown away, and you have to go out and buy it again? Guilty. Have you ever thrown away? I recently downsized my life and moved, and I set a goal for myself because I tend to be a cluttery pack rat. I say I'm not a hoarder, but I could be a hoarder. I like to save certain weird, strange things. And so I got rid of, I set a goal for myself that I was going to downsize 90% of all the material stuff in my life had to go. And I think I did a pretty good job of that. I do have a storage unit still, but most of that's going to go too because it's been in there a year and I'm like, all right, I haven't needed this stuff for a year. So the sentimental memorabilia type stuff, I'm going to keep that. But everything else, it's probably okay to let go of. And have I needed a couple of things in there during the last year? Yes, but not enough that I find somebody to take me out there and get it and bring it back, yada, yada, yada. So we all do that, right? We all, in some way, shape, or form, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Anyway, it's an interesting idiom from an old German fable that was written down by a Thomas Murner or something, or Murner, I can't remember his name. Anyway, in 1512. So it's one of those that's been around for a long, long time. So is it any wonder that we see this type of behavior in different types of situations around us all the time? I think a lot of it is, seems to me there's people that like to say things like me, and there's people that like to simplify and cut down and pare down and just go with the bare bones minimum, or thrower. I call them throwers, savers and throwers, savers and tossers, whatever you want to call them. But I was married to a tosser. That's why I came up with this idea, or this belief, that the people are either savers or tossers. And then there's a whole lot of people in between. It's like anything else. There's good, there's bad, there's in between. There's people at both ends of the spectrum, and most people fall in this average normal range. Statistics, I've done a lot with statistics over my life, and one thing I have learned is you can make statistics say anything you want to. You can take the same data set and you can present it in unlimited amounts of ways to make it actually back up your story, whatever your story is. That's why I hate to use statistics. I use them sometimes because they're effective and people believe statistics. They want to see statistics. I'll look up other people's statistics, and the first question in my head is, how in the heck did they come up with this number? How did they measure this? Because I know from personal experience, you can take numbers and data and information and you can massage it to look and say and be whatever you want it to. And that's not what we want to do, because I think that's a misrepresentation to people. So change reaction was our topic for the Get Up and Go Challenge today, meaning how have you done things in the past? Look at how you've responded to challenges and changes in the past, just all the different ways you have. Dig deep into yourself and go back. And we don't like to necessarily go back in the past and hang on. But we want to go back and say, well, this change happened in my life. How did I respond to it? What did I do about it? How long did it take me to actually respond? Because there's a lot of ways that I've responded to things in the past, especially changes and challenges. And they're not all the way I do now. They're not all pretty. And I still will respond and react in some of these old ways, depending on the situation, depending on the environment, because I'm still human. We're all human, and we tend to fall back on things that have worked before. If you're listening to me, everything you've done in the past has worked before. So if you haven't learned a lesson that way of dealing with something wasn't good for you, guess what? You're probably going to repeat it. I look at my list of how I used to respond to changes and challenges, and I do see some of these things still popping up in my life. Resistance, not competition, resistance, complaining, whining, getting upset, angry, or frustrated, being negative, looking for a way out, procrastinating, making excuses or blaming, whining, bitching or moaning, doing nothing, just freezing and being frozen, or denying and ignoring that a change has happened and that I have to do anything about it, or just taking no action. So there's a lot of ways that I have dealt with changes and challenges in the past as far as a change reaction, and in a not so positive or in my best interest way. Now, at the time, of course, I always thought that was in my best interest. We always do what we think is right for us in the now, in the present moment. And it isn't until after doing nothing, or procrastinating, or resisting, or complaining, or bitching, whining, or moaning, or acting like a victim, or denying, that we find out later on that slowed us down, or that behavior, that action, or that choice wasn't necessarily in our best interest, wasn't in my best interest. Procrastination, I fall prey to it every once in a while. Still, when I'm working on a project that I feel like I'm not 100% sure how I want to attack it, or if I'm just feeling lazy. Sometimes we're just plain tired and lazy, and so we'll find ways to procrastinate. And I found that during COVID, I've been doing a heck of a lot more than I've ever done in my life, just because of all the change and all the drama and all the trauma that's going on with people, other people, not necessarily with me, but with people out in the world and around me. So we can always learn more about ourselves, and we look back for the lessons learned, not to beat ourselves up or to regret the past. Because I've made mistakes, we all have, but I really don't regret any of the choices that I've made and the challenges I've had. Have they made me a stronger person? I like to think so. Have I always responded in a way that I am proud of? Heck no. Have we ever? I mean, I still have things that trigger me. We all do. Mostly around my ex, but otherwise, there's things that just irritate us. I can't. Just yesterday, something was like, I was like, oh my God, seriously. I was thinking that because it was starting to trigger me, and I can't even think of what it was now. I don't know. Anyway, it was something, because every day we're human and we get triggered about things. So how we used to handle challenges, or how we maybe still handle challenges and change, our automatic reaction to that was the topic of today's challenge. Tomorrow, I'm not even going to talk about tomorrow because that's not what this is about. I'm actually doing a masterclass, somebody's masterclass, which I'm finding very interesting. I succumbed to the challenge of buying the product and service yesterday, or two products and services from this person, and we'll see. I always like learning and seeing what other people are doing. One of the products was a morning routine. Now, I've had a morning routine for decades, literally decades, and it's very different than what it started out as. I mean, hopefully we're always tweaking and changing and getting better at things or doing things that are better for us. But I find that when I do the same thing every day, when I wake up at the same time every day, and the reason I'm noticing the power of this is the last couple of days I've stayed up way too late at night, and that means I've started my day a couple hours later. Now, is that a huge deal for most people? No. But for me, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And I was wanting to make excuses and blame and procrastinate and think of all these reasons I've stayed up late. And they're valid reasons. They could be valid reasons. Other people would buy them. But I know that I can make a different choice and that I can choose to follow my morning routine. And I choose to follow it because it makes me feel better. And so I actually bought someone else's to just see what are they doing, and then their way of planning, because I will admit I like to think I'm good at planning and organizing, but probably not so much. I do a lot more improv and off the cuff and on the fly than I ever actually plan out. Even, I think I shared yesterday that, this 30-day get up and go challenge, I do not have all the days planned out or mapped out. It's like writing a book. You're supposed to outline the book and then fill in all the blanks. Well, I don't do that. I just do all the ideas and then get all the pieces and then have somebody help me mix and move the pieces around to make it fit, versus doing an outline, because I've found that I think differently than a lot of people. And that's one thing that I'm liking about this masterclass. It's about how certain people absolutely positively think differently than most people. And I've always felt that way. I always believed that, and always guess I've kind of known of that about myself. But it's interesting to have it validated that, yeah, you know what? We all think differently. We really are all unique and different and special, but some of us are more different than others. And so instead of denying that, it's time to embrace that and figure it out, and figure out what does that mean for me and what I'm here to do and contribute, and how can I better do that. And one of the areas I can better do that is I'm always looking for tools. In this challenge, I'm doing a tool a day. I'm sharing a tool or more a day with people, because I've got I think 5 or 6 pages of brainstorm tools that I use on a regular basis, not every day, but every once in a while, and that I've found really valuable for me. And I want to share as many of those as I can in the 30-day challenge, because I think that our life is about figuring out what works for us and what makes us tick. It isn't about following anybody else's system. It's about taking bits and pieces of what we learn along our journey and using what works for us and just discarding the rest, or putting it in the back burner of our memory, knowing that this isn't what I need right now, but hey, I learned about this 10 years ago, and all of a sudden it's the perfect tool for the situation that I'm in right now. Never know. So that is what I am working on. Got to see my granddaughter yesterday, which was awesome. And my up-and-coming granddaughter, my daughter went and had an ultrasound this week and saw her new doctor, so that's pretty exciting as well. And everything's awesome with her baby and my second granddaughter, who's on the way. That's it. Have an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, if you have any questions about changes or challenges or offline or online or corporate businesses or whatever, hit me up in the comments below. I might not know the exact right answer, but I guarantee I can find you somebody that can help you solve whatever you're facing right now, any challenge, any situation. Have an awesome day, and I'll of course be with you tomorrow to share what I'm up to now as I transition from the brick and mortar world to the online world. Bye. Have a great day.